Hello everyone and welcome back to Granted Gardens. My name is Melissa. A few videos back you saw me doing some of my pruning around the homestead on things like my berry bushes and my grapes. Well, today we are going to be propagating a new form of a berry bush called an elderberry bush. Elderberries are extremely beneficial for medicinal purposes. We use elderberry every single day in the form of elderberry syrup, which essentially helps boost your immune system and keep away some of those illnesses that we really just don't look forward to at this time of the year. About a week and a half ago, I had made a new friend, Erica, here around town. She had some elderberry bushes on her property that she was really just thinning out. So she was selling some of the elderberry canes. So an elderberry cane is essentially going to be the stalk that shoots up out of the ground that grows elderberries. We do have a few different types of elderberries currently growing on our homestead. However, they're just not really established quite yet. We haven't had a chance to pick from them. These obviously will take some time, years, before they're going to be established enough for us to be able to pick from them. But because we do use elderberries so often, I want to make sure that we have an abundance here on the homestead for us to use for our elderberry syrups, and as well as dehydrate and store for uses in the future. So today we're going to walk you through how we are propagating our elderberries. So this is what a elderberry cane looks like, at least a third of it. The rest of it is on the other side of the room. So we actually got 3 of these. So the concept here is that propagating a plant, the idea behind that is to take a piece of an existing plant and create a whole new plant out of it, right? So what we've got here is 1 cane. We have a total of 3 that we're going to break down and try to start brand new elderberry plants from just pieces of this one.
You see this little nub? These nubs are actually called nodes, node nubs. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim the end piece just off at a 45-degree angle. We're going to count 1 node, which is going to be, in our case, underwater, and then we'll leave 1 node above, and we'll cut it at a 45 right above that, probably trim it down a little bit under the next one, then this will be at a 45. And then you cut at 45 the same way you do your flowers. More surface area means it can suck up and absorb more water through the bottom of the cane. So 45 at the bottom, 1 nub underwater, 1 nub above, and we'll just keep doing that until we cut through all 3 canes.
I had done quite a bit of research before going out and actually purchasing these canes. And so the concept that I had heard initially was that you do want to make sure, obviously the cut angle at the bottom, like Tyler had mentioned, the 2 nubs, and then some other tips that I was told was that you want the cane to be about as thick as your finger. Okay, so a cane that's thinner than like the width of your finger might take a little bit more attention to get it to grow to fruition. That something about the width of your finger is ideal for propagation. Additionally, if you want to try and do any kind of cutting from your elderberry bushes during a time when it's dormant. So the same concept as the very last video I did about pruning our grapes and our berry bushes. It's the same concept with your elderberry. You want to make sure that you are pruning at a time when the plant is dormant, meaning during the winter time when it's kind of fallen asleep and there isn't really any new growth happening yet. If you wait until there's a lot of new growth, or if you do it in the middle of a growing season, then you can shock the plant and it could essentially hurt it.
Taste test.
I don't think that you're supposed to eat. I think that there's something about elderberries they're supposed to be cooked before you eat them. I want to be careful with that. Started that. Do you want me to just stand here and hold it?
No, just cross the bridge.
Alright, Now you might notice that there is actually new growth on a lot of these that we're cutting. That is mostly because when I brought these home, they were very much in a dormant stage. We just never got around to actually shooting this video. So I had them in some water for like the last, I don't know, week and a half maybe. Has it been that long? And it's obviously warm in the house. So it got excited and just started growing. So that's why we are jumping on this today. Okay, so now that we've got them all cut, since we had the canes and we had like, you know, the base is usually a bit thicker and then the ends are a bit thinner, we are going to go ahead and just use the entire cane. So we do have some that are a bit thinner than the width of our finger, but we're going to keep those and use them anyways just to see if we get anything out of them. So essentially what you want to do is you just want to place them in water. You want to have at least 2 nodes on your cuttings so that you can have the root growth here at the base and you can have your new leaves, the new leaf growth out of the top node. So I think right now what we're going to do is we're going to just put about 3 of the thicker ones in at a time, and you just want to place them into your jars so that they're decently submerged in water. So this is a really great way for you to kind of see and watch the growth happen by doing it in these jars. Now there is another way that we saw using soil.
There was 2. There was one where you literally just do the exact same thing, put them in a pot of dirt, soil, and then you just do the same thing. You water them and wait. The only other one was somebody used sand, because sand has less microbial stuff to grow in there, so there's less chance of infection through the bottom of the stalk. And that is something that you want to take into consideration as well. Obviously, when you're doing cuttings, you want things to be very sanitized because you are exposing the plant to the elements. So you want to make sure that the jars that you're putting them in are extremely sanitized. I mean, we're on well water. We just use water from the faucet. But I have seen people comment about using like things like distilled water and such. We were gracious enough to get these for like $5, I think, maybe $10 for all 3. So we did some homework on exactly how much an elderberry would cost. And so Tyler said that maybe like a cutting from an established grower would be what? So essentially, like an actual root system is established, and that's what you pay for. Yeah, a dormant root system, which from a business is usually about $20, and there may be 1 or 2 in there, but generally you just get 1, and it's $20. From a 1 to 3 foot plant, which usually will come in like a 1 gallon container, that's usually about $50. And then the going rate for like cutting like this, whether it's established or just like you get it like this, just a stick, those can be anywhere from $5 to $10 from, say, somebody like us who was selling just the piece of cane.
So we have the opportunity here to get quite a few plants out of this. Obviously, if they all work, we aren't going to need all of these, but
we'll just plant them in the woods.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like we've got some, I've got some ideas for things in the woods that I'm going to try again this year. We talked about it, like moving the berries, but still working on those details. But these would be great to have back in there too. You know, it's a really easy way of getting your hands on the plants that you want at a cheap cost, okay? And I think that that's what we're really trying to reiterate here, is that people that can go out and spend, you know, $50 on an established plant and just plop it in the ground, that's great if you have access to that, if financially you can do that. But if you can't financially do something like that, do not feel like you do not have the means of growing your own food at home. Sometimes you just need to get a little bit creative with how you go about obtaining opportunities. And so stuff like this, you know, if you've got friends that are growing a berry bush or anything, quite frankly, in their yard, you know, ask them if you can maybe try and get a cutting from it and just propagate your own.
One thing to note, something like this one, because because the canes were so big, it displaced quite a bit of water. I don't know if you can actually see this, but the water level is like all the way up here at the neck. You do not want to have that much of the cane submerged. You actually want probably down to, maybe a third to half.
Just enough for it to
Cover
soak up.
at least that node. You want it to cover that node and then definitely the bottom. And you'll actually want to exchange this water on a daily to bi-daily basis. You don't want to let it sit and just keep adding and adding and adding. You actually want to pour out the water, pour new water in. That helps get some extra oxygen in the water down in there and keeps you from basically growing anything in the bottom of your container.
Network in your area with people that are like-minded, and make sure that you guys are utilizing each other and helping each other out, because I think that is really what can fund a garden of your dreams, for sure.
So you never know what somebody has. Definitely go out there, check around, seed swaps, plant swaps, Facebook groups.
Yes, Facebook Marketplace, big one. I'm excited to watch them grow, though. I think this is going to be fun. And we're going to set them up in a sunny place, probably here on the table. And I'm excited to watch them grow. I think this will be a great experiment for us, and just understanding the process of how to do this. You know, we had to actually invest time in researching before we did this. So we learned something today. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching.
And we look forward to sharing more with you soon.
This would be cool if this was like in 3D, right? Like,
Oh my God.